Hello and welcome back to the Mind and Money Podcast. I'm Sherry, a financial coach.
And I'm Val, a financial planner. And today we're giving tips from ADHD women for ADHD women. Sherry, over to you. We've done a little bit of research on this, and then we're going to share some of our own.
Yeah, and I think these apply not specifically for women, but that's just the Reddit thread that we went down the rabbit hole on. So, and I think a lot of this too is leaning into doing what you need to do based on who you are as a person. And sometimes the things that we need to do don't fall into the typical advice, and in fact falls into the opposite of you shouldn't or you're not supposed to do this. And one of the first ones that came up here is this person mentioned that they keep a toothbrush and toothpaste in the shower and they brush their teeth in the shower. And if you were to Google it, traditional advice says don't do that because of bacteria, all these things, but also something that's not recommended is washing your face in the shower because the water is hotter than you should use on your face. And
I keep face wash in the shower.
100%. And also you're not supposed to wash your hair and condition your hair after you wash your face. So washing your face is supposed to be the last thing because like conditioner can clog your pores. But I need to let the conditioner sit. So then I
have to kill some time. Yeah. I think it's challenging those social norms, and whether it's what you think is right because you were conditioned that way, or what your spouse thinks is weird or your family thinks is weird, like do what you have to do for you.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes those things may not be the best practices, but they are best for you to get the things done. Like my lovely dental hygienist told me, because I've been getting some cavities and I don't have the best teeth. And I was just like, what the hell? Like I'm brushing and flossing. And she mentioned you should be flossing at night. That's the best time to floss. So I tried it and then I just wasn't doing it because I didn't have the level of effort to give before I go to bed to floss. So I just then wasn't. And I'm like, no, I need to go back to doing it in the morning because that's done is better than done to like the best practices.
Yeah. What is it? Like done is better than perfect.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's even more true for our ADHD brains who at the end of the day, like we might not have a whole lot of spoons left to have the executive function we need to do the things that people tell us we should do.
Yes. One thing that I do, I don't know if this is a hack, but I created like similar to a crazy couponer. I used to love that TLC show. I just created a stockpile area in my house. Instead of having like extras in the spot that maybe like, I don't know, the toilet paper sits, I keep some in each washroom, but then I have a place where the excess goes. So before buying something, I always check that excess spot to see if there's something there.
Ooh, so like there would be excess toilet paper
and
excess spaghetti sauce and excess shampoo?
Yeah. Oh. It's where all of it's all pretty much essential stuff that lives there.
No, I like it versus feeling like you need a spot in the bathroom to store the extra toilet paper and a spot in the kitchen to store the extra pasta sauce. Yeah. Kind of one central location.
Yeah. Kind of like your own mini store before you have to go to the big store. Ooh, it's like a little screen and a big screen.
Yeah. And I see that a lot with people that are those extreme couponers.
Yes.
And then like that's really
that's next level. I don't have a whole room. I have 3 shelves, and it used to be in the back of the storage room in the basement, and then now I've made it where when you walk in it's the first thing you see because I'm like, this makes more sense, right? Yep. So that's a little tip that I have, and it keeps clutter-ish out of cupboards.
Yep. And it keeps it visual.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of the tips that help us the best are is like, how can we keep it visual and how can we keep it top of mind so that we don't forget we have something or forget to do something, or I like it. Another recommendation, and I started this one being more intentional with it last year, is the don't put it down, put it away.
Touch it once, not twice.
Yep. And the biggest one for me is the scissors in the kitchen. They're in a drawer in the island, and I used to often leave them on top of the island when it's like the drawer's right there. But also, if you need to have more than one of something, yes, we did an episode recently on underconsumption, but if having 2 pairs of scissors in your kitchen is helpful, then have 2 pairs of scissors in your kitchen. Like I have one in the island in the drawer, but also in the knife block that's over by my coffee station is. So it's like bag of milk. Yes, we have bags of milk in Canada, in Ontario, not in every province apparently, but so then it's easier for me. I pull out those scissors, I open the bag of milk, I put them back, and then they don't have to sit there and then go back to the kitchen islands. It's like, how can there be fewer steps to do things in the way that you want to do them? How can we make our lives easier, really? Here's a couple ones. And some of these do cost money and they're an investment, like get a robot vacuum and ideally one that's self-emptying.
Yes.
And also ones that you can schedule, because if you know your robot vacuum is going to do a lap around the floor of your house every day at 8 a.m., you're going to make sure or try and do your best to make sure that your phone charger is not on the floor or your slippers are put away and things aren't going to get eaten up by the robot vacuum. If you hate to do something, is there a way that you can invest money in making it more easily accessible? Like a dishwasher was one of the first things that we put in our house when we bought it, because a sink of dirty dishes, I hate. Washing that sink of dirty dishes, I hate more. I also hate emptying the dishwasher, but I've timed myself to help it be less of a barrier in my brain to getting it done. It takes minutes, and I can also do it in the time that it takes to steam the milk for my latte. So sometimes creating those challenges are good too.
And being realistic, like I'll look at the clock. We don't have a dishwasher. We bought one. It's in the garage. It would have to be one that you like pulled over to the sink. So currently the aesthetic look of it in the kitchen and the work it would take to hook it up is not worth it in my brain yet. And it probably won't be because our kitchen is small. So at this point in life, but I'll look at the clock and be like, I could have these dishes done by this time and kind of race myself.
Yep.
Versus being, oh my God, look at all those dishes.
Yeah. And the reality is many tasks like that take a lot less time than we think they take. And we create these barriers around like, oh, that's going to take a half an hour.
Yeah.
And it probably is going to take less than 15 minutes to do that. So, yeah.
Precisely.
And another one that is a financial investment, but spend money on pre-cut fruits and vegetables if it means that you're going to eat them. Or the other suggestion was prep them as soon as they come home. So you go to the grocery store, you put the fruits and vegetables somewhere, you don't put them away, and then you wash them, cut them. They're much more likely to get eaten. My brother and sister-in-law were joking about this on the weekend, how there's this magicness to the grapes that they buy, that they come off the stem. And if my sister-in-law is like, my family will not eat them unless I take them off the stem, and then they get thrown out. So can you spend a little money to get it pre-cut, or can you
spend a little time?
Yeah. So it's like grocery prep day. Groceries come in, groceries get cut up. Or also, like, does it make sense for you to have some type of meal prep delivery service? Because if they're all lower cost than food delivery night of.
Oh, yes. And throwing food away, putting it in the crisper to die.
Which leads perfectly into this next tip, which is put your condiments and the things that you know you're going to seek out in the drawers in your fridge, and put the produce where it's more eye level so that you can see it starting to go bad versus you pull it out of your drawer on grocery day. Yeah, cutting it up will also help with that too. Yeah. Investing in some containers that help keep fruits and vegetables more crisp for longer can also help reduce spoilage. But keeping it visual. How can you see it versus having to dig it out of your drawer when it's rotting?
Yep.
I love this one. Schedule nothing time for yourself. Yes. No pressure to be productive, no social obligations, maybe a little self-care if it's your thing.
A nap.
Yeah, I don't have antisocial time. When I don't have antisocial time, it really sets me on edge. So yeah, kind of ditching that guilt in spending time doing nothing.
Then it gives you a compartment to do that. So then you're not burning out and like doom scrolling when you shouldn't be. You're like, oh yeah, I've got that on the horizon. I've got that at 4:00.
Yep. Yeah. And I saw a post recently about different ways of self-care. Because we think of self-care as like the bubble baths and the, sitting with a coffee or reading a book. But there's so many other ways. And I think it broke it down. It's like mental. So like journaling, meditation, all of those things, like therapy. And then the physical. So like moving your body, stretching, yoga. And then there was also the social, which was spending time alone. And I can't remember what I think this was more of the mental self-care, social media breaks, not spending time, carving out a day where you're not on social media or not on your phone at all.
Turning your phone off.
Yeah, that gives me That gives me a little bit of anxiety.
Really?
But I have been really good about spending less time on it. And I don't know.
What gives you anxiety?
I mean, what if my kid needs me?
I do think about that too, but then I'm like, there's a second parent.
Yeah, but also, like putting it down and not using it.
And taking your watch off?
No, because I was just going to say, because I would still get any emergency notifications on my watch, but it's very limited the notifications I get on my watch. Like text, phone call is really the only thing I get on my watch. So it's kind of like, it just would turn my phone into an old-timey phone. Yeah, I sound 70, I know. Okay, what else do we have? Somebody's saying here, putting tasks specifically in your calendar. So if you need to do something, giving it a specific time in your calendar, but I can ignore that shit really good.
Yeah, I do better if I challenge myself with a time limit, if that makes sense, which doesn't relate. But if I have tasks to do, I'll be like, okay, 30 minutes to do the household tasks versus, I don't know. Yeah, yes and no. Because if it's just me accountable to me.
When I have a meeting with somebody.
That's different.
That's like put it in my calendar. But if I have a goal each week to write a blog post, having it specifically carved out in my calendar and having that be the only spot that I was tracking it getting done, the likelihood of it getting done is much lower than me having on a weekly task list.
Yeah.
So it's just like knowing what works for you versus what works for other people.
It ain't for everyone. And part of that is take the best, leave the rest. If it does not apply to you, if it does not work for you, don't take it and don't feel bad not taking it. If it changed someone's life for the better, now they're a 6-figure income earner. Awesome. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you.
And I think too, the getting up at 5 a.m., there's so much positivity towards getting up early. And that's what the best, most productive CEOs, high income earners do. And there's a lot of shame around somebody who's staying up till 2:00 in the morning
and waking up at 10.
But if you are more productive from the hours of 11 to 2 a.m., ditch that shame. If you're beating yourself up because you're trying to wake up earlier and it's not working, lean into what works for you from a time schedule, because when our brains are firing the most, that's the best time for us to work. So for me, I'm not productive at 2 a.m. So it's best for me to be in bed, but I'm also not getting up at 5:00 in the morning. And I tried for a long time to shove myself into that box because it's what the best people do. And you know what? I'm best to get up around 8.
And if you have the flexibility, I would highly recommend for women, probably a month. 7 days would be awesome too, to not set an alarm and see what time your body wakes up at. That's like I don't know. See.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not really possible except for people that don't have little ones to get off.
Or dogs.
Yeah. So it's figuring out what your natural rhythm is and
doing your best.
And then fitting your life and your natural rhythm together, which kind of sometimes means some changes
your hormones
in your natural
and your
rhythm.
cycle.
Yeah. And I talked to this one about with a client lately. Goblin tools. This is amazing for ADHD brains who sometimes like to overthink things and avoid tasks because we think they're going to be too much. So if you want to plan an event, like Goblin Tools, I think it's just goblintools.com. If you Google Goblin Tools, it'll come up. But you just tell it what you want to do, and then it will break it down into steps. So if you say, I want to plan an event on this date, and here's as much information as I'm giving you about this event, like break it down for me in steps. And also ChatGPT will do this too.
Do something similar.
But the nice thing with Goblin Tools is it gives you spots to check it off.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can also then break those individual steps down further depending on how much you want it broken down. So it can it can take this large task and just break it down into small, manageable steps.
I like.
So there's some talk here about habit stacking and how ADHDers, it doesn't really apply for because we don't have any solid habits. And that's true, but I also think we can build habits. It's going to take us a lot longer, and we're going to have to be a lot more it takes a lot more mental energy to have habits with ADHD than it does for neurotypicals. And for me, I just noticed that I have to have a path to do things, and if I skip something, I probably will not get back to that. So for example, I get up in the morning, I go to the washroom, and I have to immediately brush my teeth.
Yep.
Or I will not. If I skip that step, sometimes it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, why do my teeth feel so furry? It's like, oh, I skipped that step this morning because I got distracted. So it's like, no, don't leave the bathroom, brush your teeth. And I do often, especially in the morning, as I'm brushing my teeth, do multiple other things. So I'll make my bed,
you cut deals with yourself.
Yeah. So what can I get done? And also, as it comes to oral hygiene, like, I have an electric toothbrush, and that electric toothbrush times 2 minutes for me.
That's handy dandy.
So I know that I'm not brushing my teeth for 30 seconds or 5 minutes if I get distracted. Again, that's an investment, but it's
hella worth it.
It is really worth it because it allows me to lower the effort to brushing my teeth, but then still do it in a really high quality way versus just like half-assing a regular toothbrush through my mouth. So just figuring out ways, what can you add so that you make yourself more comfortable, more able to do habits. I've seen people too where they have these bracelets that they put on. It's like brush teeth.
Yes.
Meditate. And I've also been really consistent with meditating because I just brush my teeth, meditate. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Just go directly to that next thing you want to do. So we are capable of creating habits. It's just, I think too, is that we need to understand why.
Yes, definitely.
We're doing the thing.
And if it's because everyone else is doing it, that's not enough reason.
Yep. Trying something and having it be okay that you don't do it. So maybe you try meditating and you do it for 3, 4, 5 days. You're like, I'm just not feeling an impact.
If it doesn't work, ditch it.
I'm going to stop. Not to say that you don't come back to it later and try, or maybe you're trying it in the morning and it doesn't work, but then doing it at night before bed is really impactful and helpful and helps you go to sleep. So it's like figuring out by trial and error what works for you and just knowing. Don't lean into that neurotypical advice. Ignore the shoulds out there. If like, you should just try. Well, if somebody tells you to try something and your mind goes to, well, tell me why, and there is no why that resonates with you.
Yeah, experiment with your life. Yep. It's yours.
Yep. And don't be afraid to do things that seem weird or unusual or that other people are going to shake their head at, because if it works for you,
we are weird and unusual
and fucking awesome. And if it works for you, that's the main thing. So if you have any tips or advice that you'd like us to share with our audience, feel free to drop those in the comments or send us a message on social media. And you can connect with us through the links in the show notes. And we thank you for being here. And if you're a listener and listen to multiple episodes, we'd love if you would leave us a review, because that helps us get in front of more people. So thanks for being here.